Welcome to Living Grounded, Village's weekly Q&A, where you can ask anonymous questions about God, the Bible, life with Jesus, and all things in between. Hello, welcome to Living Grounded. I'm Ella, I'm here with Tim.
Hello.
This week, Tim and the team have been at the FIEC conference. If you don't know what FIEC is, that's going to be our theme for today's episode. We'll unpack that and share some highlights from the conference as well. But on Sunday, we heard from Teresa at Compassion. She shared a powerful story of God's work in her life. And Tim helped us think through and see God's desire to proclaim his name in all the nations, why that's good, why we should carry the torch of Jesus' warmth and light in the world. If you weren't there, you can have a listen to that in the Village app. So, you've been at a conference all week.
Yeah.
How has that been?
Yeah, I'm tired. It's a big couple of days. It was a bigger couple of days. Alita and I did the emceeing for the daytime sessions. Which changed the flavour of the conference. Happy to serve people in that way. Encouraged by Alita, she doesn't like doing things up front.
Yeah, I was encouraged to hear.
Yeah, she had a crack. So good on her, and it went well. But it was just a very different thing in terms of you're chasing people all the time to organise stuff, and you're you're
not just there to listen.
Yeah, you're not there. You can't just listen. You're doing constantly. So that was different. But on this side of it, glad we were able to do it. Glad we were able to serve. Lots of people had to travel a long way to get there.
It's just a road for us.
We don't. We get to drive. I get to sleep in my own bed. So the least I feel I can do is serve people by taking that burden off them. So it was good.
Yeah, good. Well, who is FIEC?
Yeah, so it's not something that we talk about a lot at Village. It's kind of there in the material if you care to look, but we don't rave on about it a lot. FIEC, Fellowship of Independent Evangelical Churches. Let me break that down. So it's a fellowship. It's not a authoritative denomination as such. So different to say the Anglicans or the Presbyterians. We're a fellowship. We choose to fellowship together. We opt in and we can opt out. On the other side of it, they can choose not to fellowship with us. If, for instance, we were to change our beliefs significantly or something. It's a group of like-minded churches who choose to fellowship. But we are independent. We are all independent churches. So we're all churches like Village Church who are member governed as such. Some of us would have a single elder. Some of us have multiple elders, but all are governed internally from within the church as opposed to having an outside governance structure. We're evangelical. That's a hard word these days. It's tricky because of the American context, but more in line with the historic use of that word, and I would love to be able to hang on to the historic use of that word. The evangelicalism begins in kind of like the 1700s, 1800s, as a term to speak about people who were on about the evangel. The evangelism comes from the word evangel, which is the good news of the gospel. To be evangelical means that we are people who are on about the gospel. We are on about seeing more people hear about Jesus, and that's what FIEC is on about, churches that are on about that. And then we're just a bunch of churches. Yep. So fellowship, independent, evangelical churches. There you go.
Yeah, great. And there's 60 churches.
Yeah, about 60. It's grown quite a bit recently. About 5 years ago, it was about 30 churches. It's now about 60 churches from around Australia, and then there's a few more that are kind of checking it out. So that could continue to grow. So at the conference, about 400 or so people, pastors, wives and families, church teams, and so on. But FIEC has in its kind of regular attendance. I think it's something like. No, I'll have to come back to us on that one. I think it's about about 20,000 people call an FIEC church home. Something around 20,000. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. And so what had they been looking at the conference so far?
Yeah, so very cool. Everyone comes to Stanwell Tops Conference Centre. Amazing. That's been happening for a long time now. This year we looked at the book of 1 Thessalonians. A guy called Gary Miller talked through that, as well as a number of other Bible talks. So just an opportunity to be encouraged, particularly for pastors and those who preach regularly. There is a different experience to sitting under someone else's teaching. It's a wonderful, encouraging thing. We do a number of other stuff. We try and have a broader look at what's going on around the country in terms of church life, our culture in general. One of the dangers of any independent, particularly independent church, is that we just become very focused on what's happening for us, for our community, our situations, our problems, as well as maybe our successes or fruits. It's really important for us to lift our eyes a bit, to have some sense of what's happening out there for other churches, to see what God's doing elsewhere, to be mindful of that, both for the sake of prayer and encouragement, but also for the sake of helpfulness. Okay, for instance, we've seen a bunch more visitors, I think, recently than we generally have at this time of year. Interesting to hear that that's actually going on for a number of FIEC churches. So is there something going on there? I think these are good things to be aware of. Are there churches that are seeing particular fruit from doing particular strategic things? I want to learn from that. I want to learn from churches that have tried things and they haven't worked. I don't want to try them things if I don't think, if I think we might experience the same. So I reckon all of that is helpful. Churches working together to wrestle with our changing environment that's happening in Australia, figuring out how do we navigate those waters best. How do we hear from churches who've gone before us, who are older than us, church plants who've maybe been around longer, and pastors who've been around longer. And church plants more recent than us. It's cool to hear from, I sat down, one other great thing at the conference, sat down with a bunch of pastors from Sydney and Wollongong to think about what could the future of church planting look like in our region, seeing how we could potentially work together, pool resources, think strategically about where to plant churches. We need churches just about everywhere. There are not enough churches, there are not enough pastors that so many communities in Sydney and Wollongong are not getting reached at all. And so we need to think about that. But we've got limited resources. So where do you plant first? If you can't plant everywhere, where do you go next? And so that's something that we're thinking about, that we want to do together, and I think we'll be stronger together to do. Yeah.
Yeah, great. Why are we at Village Church a part of FIEC?
Yeah, look, there's some really great things about being an independent church, but one of the dangers is isolationism. It's a danger for me personally. It's a danger for our leadership team. It's also a danger for us as a church, I think. We need other churches. We need like-minded churches who are on about the same purpose. I need pastors who are wiser than I am, who've been in the job longer. I also think it's important to have younger pastors than me who I can encourage and strengthen. And, God doesn't give us the experiences we have simply for our own context. I think it's been encouraging to be able to share some of our experience at Village Church and beyond with other younger pastors who are looking to plant. I think that's part of what the church is meant to be. FIEC has no direct authority over Village. They can't come and say, okay, time to change this, or Tim, I think you've done your dash, it's time to go. Only you guys can do that. But at the same time, what they can do is advise. support, resource. I mean, many of you know that we've received financial support from other FIEC churches. If we weren't part of FIEC, that's probably not something that just probably wouldn't have happened. Other things like our review panel, if I was to, either have a moral failure or a failure of doctrine and teaching, you have we have a review panel, and several members of that review panel are pastors from FIEC churches. This is the great benefit of being the church. We get to relate to a group of people who are like-minded and who want to support and have the capability to support to the extent that doesn't kind of override our independence, if that makes sense. So I guess I would really encourage you, if you've never been, one of the great benefits is that the FIEC conference is in our town. It's at Stanley-Tops Conference Centre, really accessible. And next year, I would, a bunch of people, I should say, came up this year on the Tuesday night. It was really cool to see them. I think they were encouraged. I think they found that helpful. Wonderful to see the wider thing that we're a part of and get a little glimpse of that. But next year, why don't you commit to coming? When you hear the announcement, why don't you commit to coming one of the night sessions? Because I think it's worthwhile. Not everything will be perfectly applicable to you, but you'll get to sing with a whole bunch of God's people. You'll get to hear things that are going on around the country. You'll get to probably hear a good Bible talk. It's good stuff. Let's make the most of having the conference in our backyard.
Yeah, it seems like a healthy outworking of the unity we talked about a few weeks ago on the podcast.
It's a great shape of that. Pursuing unity amongst different denominations, that is a hard, slow, generational conversation and work. But we can get a glimpse of healthy unity at things like this. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's encouraging. Is there anything coming up this week that we can...
It feels pretty busy. Saturday, big day Saturday, election bake sale. So, great way. How good is the PCYC? I mean, so thankful for that venue. It really facilitates us doing church well. It's hard work, but watching people use that space and how we're able to use that space, it's worth it. We get to support the PCYC through the election bake sale and barbecue. If you haven't already signed up, get in touch with us, email or however you know how to. Love to put you on a barbecue or something like that, or sell some cakes. So that's on this Saturday, tomorrow. Other than that, we're going to hear from Gary Eastman on Sunday about the Tabernacle. If you've never looked into the Tabernacle, there you go. There's a lot to attend. So I think that's the main things coming up.
Yeah, great. All right, well, have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you Sunday.
Oh, we should say as well that if you did send in a normal question for this Living Grounded, we'll cover that next week. So no fear, it'll come. Yep.
Great. See you Sunday.
See you Sunday. Ciao.